Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me in this presentation on how to discover your career Ikigai. Go from confused to clear about it. By the end of this presentation, you will understand two main things. One is to better understand the global employee movement, meaning this is in regards to all the comments and questions I have saying, yeah, but I'm not fluent, or I don't know Japanese well enough. I'm going to address all of those concerns in that first section, and hopefully by the end of it, you will have much more confidence in moving forward to showcase your own personal bilingual and or bicultural skills. The second will be to go from confused to clear about your career Ikigai, where we will do a little workshop / brainstorming session to help you get a little bit clearer. So who is this presentation for? Generally, it's for anyone who needs help determining their career Ikigai, meaning just some steps to clarify on what to do next as they're looking for a job or a career. But specifically, I talk about Japanese language and our cultural skills because those are the things that I'm sharing from my experience. I've used Japanese language and or cultural skills in Japan, Poland, Italy, and the United States. So all of my examples will be related to that, but even if you don't have any Japan experience, I think it will still be very helpful. One caveat I must say is because I am an American, my tips are based on an American perspective. I try to be global and open-minded, and some of these things may not apply to you if you're from a different country, but I really do think that a lot of the things I will say are applicable globally, especially when you're dealing with Japanese companies. So let's do this. Here's what we will cover. There's 5 sections. The first one is an introduction to who I am, as well as what my company does. The second one is where I will address all your concerns of, oh, but I don't have enough Japanese, or there aren't any jobs, etc., etc. The third one will be a quick section on how to define your Ikigai, because most of the people who are coming to this training program are probably pretty familiar with that word. The fourth one is we'll dig deep and we'll do a little exercise into determining your career Ikigai. If you haven't already, in the module and if you're watching this on YouTube, there is a link for downloading that little sheet that you can see on the right-hand side. You don't need it, you just need pen and paper, but it is a visual if you are interested in having that. So go ahead and pause this if you want it, download it, print it, whatever you want. And lastly, I'll do a quick introduction to the Japanese Jobs 100 series. And these are my new online training programs that launched on July 28th, 2020. And I'm so excited. In fact, I'm so excited to do so that I'm also including a coupon code for a discount if you do decide to purchase the other modules in the series, and that will expire July 31st, 2020. So if you are watching this in the early days, you are lucky to get it for a discount, but if you're watching this afterwards, then I say you should still sign up for my mailing list and find out about the next programs that I will offer in the future. All right, let's get started. My name is Kasha, and I am in love with Japan. I don't know why it happened, but I've been studying it since high school, and I lived in Japan a total of about 8 years, and that includes high school, college, graduate school, and working. Plus, I did many multiple business trips to Japan. I did my job search in Tokyo, and that's Shushoku Katsudo in Japanese. I ended up getting a job in concert promotion, and I loved it. Then I decided to get a job in Poland, mostly because I was there on vacation, and I met some Japanese diplomats who convinced me to stay in Poland, which is a story in itself. But I got a job at an electronics company. Later, I decided to become a freelance interpreter-translator, and I was able to live in Poland, Italy, and Michigan. And finally, I came back home to Michigan, and I was in the automotive industry for about 6 years. Now, I will say that there's 2 things I'd like to say to this. One is that I feel very fortunate to have had all these experiences, and it was very difficult to get them because I was adamant about using my Japanese language skills, even though they were not amazing in the beginning, right? And the other thing I want to say is that it's okay to not be an expert in a particular field or industry. For example, I was not even well-versed in electronics or in automotive-related stuff, but they needed me for the communication aspect, for helping the intercultural, communicating between Japan and the US, or Poland and Japan and Germany, for example. So there was all these things that I was able to help with, even though I was not a subject matter expert in the particular field. That said, if you are a subject matter expert in a particular area and you have the language skills, well, then I think you're pretty set. So that's something that we will cover later in the Career Ikigai brainstorming session. So keep in mind, I don't want you to get frustrated that you don't know about these amazing experiences, but these are all positions that I created and I aimed to get. It wasn't something that was necessarily open in the job ad section. So I'm going to help give you the confidence so that you can also find your own career Ikigai related jobs. Okay? So then I created Ikigai Connections, and that was basically I started with a blog in 2018, and 2019 I launched a job board. In 2020, today, the 28th of July, I'm launching my new online training programs, and I hope to help people who are studying Japanese and want to use those skills in a job. I'm calling you my global employees if you're watching this, because I think you need to know that you are so important and you don't yet realize it. So I hope to give you that confidence. Now that we're done with the introduction, let's go to this global employee movement. So obviously there is this problem, this disconnect. And as you can see here, there's a lot of misconceptions, and I hear these over and over and over. So I want to answer each of them individually and tell you they're wrong. The first one, can't use Japanese in a job. That is completely not true. And I hear students saying, yeah, I'm studying Japanese and it's just an expensive hobby. And a lot of them think it's only something that they can do in their spare time. But this is a global economy. There are so many Japanese companies and other global companies that deal with Japanese customers, clients, suppliers, employees, etc. So by knowing another language, first of all, you stand out. But knowing a Japanese is just so much more amazing. The second thing I often hear is, oh, there's no jobs. And I completely understand, because there's many times that I go into the job boards and I won't see too many jobs that are using Japanese language skills. But it doesn't mean that you can't be creative, and it doesn't mean that you can't get involved in different societies and talk to companies and try to network. And I talk about that in Japanese Jobs 103 in great detail. There's a lot of jobs that don't even make it into the job boards because they're either filled internally, or they're word of mouth, or they're through networking opportunities, whether online or in person. And I just think it's very important to be able to put yourself out there and to be creative and see what is out there. Then I hear, oh, I'm not fluent. But I don't think you have to be fluent. We're not even born with a language, any language. So it's a step-by-step process you have to learn, and you're not going to get to be pera unless you keep working at it. So don't expect you to have these fluent skills just to work at a company. You be confident with where you are and have the incentive and the confidence to take it another step further and just to keep learning over time. Next, I hear, well, I don't want to be a translator. And I visited a lot of schools where everyone seems to think the only job they can get with Japanese is to be a translator. That is not true. I believe in any industry and any role you can imagine. If you have Japanese language skills, you make that role so much better. I also hear that, oh, it's for experienced people. And yes, if you look at some job ads, they do require mid-career, 3 to 5 years of experience. However, we all have to start somewhere, and I want you to have the confidence to try to find internships or other training programs or things like that you can showcase your skills and get in there and say, I will be able to do A, B, and C as you're requesting. I just need an opportunity. And you never know. You never know what can happen. You have to start somewhere. So don't worry that you're not born being a mid-career professional. Okay? Then I hear things about, oh, but Japanese companies, they micromanage, they have overwork, there's karoshi, there's conformity, the nail that sticks up gets pounded down. And I have heard stories of this being true, but I have also heard many more stories of this not being true. And I have also worked at companies that do not have that as, included in their company atmosphere, philosophy, whatever you want to say, mission. I believe you still need to look out there and find companies that will match you. It's kind of like dating. And if there is a company that does this, then they are not for you, but there are plenty others out there. There's many other fish in the sea. And then finally, I hear this probably the most often, I don't know where to start. And I understand it's very frustrating. I can help. So definitely sign up for my mailing list. I send out newsletters every Thursday. Go to my website, look at my blog. I am very willing to help you. And the first thing I'm going to do to help you out is in this presentation, which I believe is the most important step, is figuring out your career Ikigai. We'll get to that next. I also want to bring up some employer misconceptions so that you have a better idea of what the employers are thinking, so that you can kind of better relate to the situation. So the first one is that a lot of employers do not realize that non-Japanese people speak Nihongo. And that's going to be for you and I to tell them, no, that's not true. We have to speak up. We have to make it be known that we're interested in using Nihongo in our skills, or Japanese language and cultural skills. So just don't be afraid to put yourself out there, because this misconception may be out there. However, we can together make it not true. Next, a lot of employers may be assuming that you need to be mid-career for global communication. And while that is true, because if you're just fresh out of college, you may not understand what global communication even means. However, if you are interested in putting yourself out there, gaining new skills, and convincing these companies, say, hey, give me a chance, you have no idea what could possibly happen. You may be given the opportunities to test, working with these various roles. So don't have that stop you. Find a way to get to be mid-career, okay? The third one is that some employers also, like I said in the last section, they may assume that you need to be fluent. Now, first of all, some HR people that are interviewing you may not even know the language. So they just may expect you to be this one category of fluent. But we all know that with Japanese, there's reading, writing, speaking, and listening, and you can be different levels in each. When you see that, I want you to still apply to the job and say, I understand you're looking for a fluent person, and while I may not categorize myself in that way, I can do A, B, and C in this part, da-da-da-da. Give them examples of your writing and say, how comfortable you are. However, also, the more we study Japanese, the more humble we get. Mada benkyou chū desu toka. We say these things that make others seem that or think that we don't have enough confidence, but we're just actually being humble in the Japanese sense. So try not to use that when you're speaking with people who don't know Japanese. The next thing that lots of employers may think is that bilingual candidates are mostly for admin roles. And while that's great, I still firmly believe that bilingual candidates can be great for any function in any company, in any industry. Your bilingual skills make you stand out. And if you know Japanese, that makes it even better. And finally, especially if you are a student, a graduate, or just, recently come back from the JET program, if you don't have this experience these companies are requesting, they may not know what to do with you. They may not know how to train you. They may not have the manpower to help, onboard you into their program, into their company. So this is where I'm also trying to help. I'm trying to help with the onboarding process so that companies who don't know how to train these interns or entry-level employees, that I can help them with that. So that's going to be Japanese Jobs 200 level coming up after this program is in place. So it obviously takes some time to create that, but if you're interested, definitely reach out and let me know. It'll be helping if you are hired into a company, if you want to improve your skills, I'll help you with some kind of, informal interpreting and training, translating what you can do in a company, how to help in meetings, where to sit, how do you interact with customers, how do you talk about your boss to your customers, things like that in Keiko. So it's a little bit higher level, and you probably should know some Japanese in that regard, but I'm definitely going to be working on that soon. Here are some facts that I'd like for you to know. Globally, people want to be certified in Japanese. And the numbers, if you see, in 2018, over 1 million people took the JLPT, and 65,000 passed the highest, most difficult level. Just look at that. Over 1 million people want to use their Japanese globally in a job. Also, in the JET program in 2019, there was about 5,800 people that came back from the program. They participated in the program. And when they came back, so many want to find employment either in Japan or in their home country. And finally, just in the USA alone, there's from 65,000 to 72,000 students that are studying Nihongo at the college and university level. This shows that we, global employees, there's a lot of us. We have to start showing up and proving that we are great candidates for employment. And I believe that this disconnect is a fantastic thing. You may not think so, especially in your job hunting, but you have this international, intercultural knowledge, and you're passionate about it. That would make you a fantastic candidate for employment, and it's a win-win for both you and the employers. So you're this untapped resource that companies haven't really been looking at. I'm going to help showcase you with my job board and speaking with companies. So please help me help you and show how many of us are out there. So the solution, global employees, especially if they're just coming out of school, just need an opportunity and training, and that's how I want to help you. So definitely take a look at my job board on ikigaiconnections.com. And as I said, we're going to first start with the very first most important step is discovering your Ikigai. So that's next. We are going to talk about Ikigai, and you've probably seen this type of visual all over. It's become a hot word lately. It was popularized in the Dan Buttner book for Blue Zones, and he talked about Okinawa and why the people there live the longest in the entire world, along with a few other regions. And it's not just because of their diet or their fantastic weather and location by the water, but it's also because they have an Ikigai. And it's very helpful for people if they have an Ikigai. It makes you happier, and you can, as is written in that Blue Zones book, it may even be the key to helping you live longer. So there's an intersection of 4 circles. It's what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. Now, I understand that a lot of people say, well, your Ikigai doesn't have to be your job, and I completely understand because, for example, if I want to be a ballroom dancer, or I love ballroom dancing, and every evening I go to ballroom dancing classes, it doesn't mean I have to become a ballroom dancing teacher or a ballroom dancing professional. I can just do it in my own spare time. I don't have to be paid for it. So that's completely understandable. That's a form of Ikigai. However, my company is based around the fact that you can use your Japanese skills, mix it with your Ikigai for a career. And that is where the focus is going to be. And by the way, just a side note, when you're doing the Shushoku Katsudo or job search in Japan, the first step that most books tell you when they're telling you how to do the Shushoku Katsudo, the first step is Jiko Bunseki. Jiko is yourself. Bunseki is to analyze. So that's always the most important. You have to figure out what you want to do. So that's what we're going to get to next. I'm going to specify, like I said, I think it's important to have your Ikigai and your career be together. And here is my symbol for your career Ikigai when you're connecting your personal interests, your professional strengths, and your knowledge of Japan. Why is this important? I think you should be happy and fulfilled. And if you get to that level using your Japanese language and cultural skills, then that is beautiful. And I don't want you to just have a job that you go to every day for 8 hours. I want you to actually enjoy it and have a purpose. So now we are done with the basic background to this presentation. We're now going to get into an exercise. And this is, I think, very important. I think that you should pause this if you need to, close your door, turn off your phone, just put distractions away, and grab a piece of paper and pen. If you have this document on the right, that's great. If not, just grab a regular piece of paper and draw 4 boxes. I'm going to ask you 4 sets of questions. And as I'm asking you questions, I want you to write down what comes to mind. And don't be afraid of just writing out a couple words here and there. Don't think about complete sentences. Think of what comes to mind when I ask you the questions. And what's going to happen is, today you're going to do this. And you might look at this document again the next day or a week from now or even a month from now. You'll find that you wrote down some words that you didn't realize you wrote down. I do this all the time. I actually journal all the time, and I'll go back and reread something from a month ago or a year ago. I'm like, wow, that's kind of kakui. That's kind of cool. I can't believe I wrote that. You just don't realize what you write down. So do this with pen and paper. Do not use a computer. Do not use your cell phone. There's something that happens when you write in your brain, in your subconscious. You get really deep, juicy details out. And sometimes you can even close your eyes as I'm asking you these questions. And don't worry about having the correct answers. Today, we're just going to dig deep a little bit. And the purpose of this exercise, so you know, when we're done with these 4 sets of questions, you're going to be one step closer to your job search. You're going to have a better idea of what you like to do. And also, like I often say in all my webinars and all my blog posts, nothing is impossible. You can write down the craziest things you want in all these categories. I don't care. This is your life, and nothing is too crazy. You can absolutely find things to match your Ikigai. So again, no holding back, dig deep, write a few words, and maybe you can come back to this and it'll help you with your job search and how you start researching. Are you ready? Let's do this. The first section is your personal Ikigai. I'm going to ask you these questions and just think. Write down words. What do you love to do? What makes you happy? What comes easy to you? And what are you good at? What are your strengths? What do you do when time passes quickly, when you're in the flow, in the zone, when you forget about everything else? For me, it's puzzles. I'll set a timer for 10 or 15 minutes. I'll snooze that timer or just turn it off and keep going. And an hour and a half later, oh my goodness, I'm still doing my puzzle and I didn't realize it's that much time. That's a personal ikigai. This doesn't have to be related to a job. It's just, what do you love to do? Do you love baking? Do you love exercising? Maybe watching movies, video games, sewing, working on cars, or just drawing things? What do you love to do? Again, this doesn't have to be related to Japan. It doesn't have to be related to a job. Just think about what you love to do. Okay, I'm going to go to the next section. You can always go back. You can always pause the video. Now let's talk about your Japanese ikigai. What do you love about Japan? Why do you study it? What about it do you like? So if it's culture, let's say manga, anime, pottery, art, ikebana, architecture, travel, hanami, food. What do you like about the culture? I mean, really like, that you just could talk about forever. What about reading and writing? There are some people who are just focused on the reading, writing aspect. So it's like reading books, practicing kanji, figuring out keigo, translating. Or you could also be interested in speaking and listening. So for example, interpreting. Karaoke, that should go in there, absolutely. Bowing, that's a cultural aspect that some people have told me that they appreciate, because when they're talking, they immediately start having these like Japanese-like reactions when they're talking. So bowing is a part of that. And again, we're not going to worry about being fluent. I talk about that in depth in module Japanese Jobs 104, but don't worry about the language. Don't worry about your limitations. So if you were to pick one Japanese thing to do right now, what would it be? Would you like to go to a hanabi or fireworks festival in your yukata? Do you want to ride the Yamanote line or your other favorite train? What about tatami mats, kotatsu, eating your mikan orange and watching TV? Or just talking to someone, networking. Of course, we all miss that because currently it's the pandemic, but you can still do that online. What do you love about Japan? Next, let's talk about your professional ikigai. This does not have to do with Japan at all. And some of you may still be in school, so you may have experience with internships, part-time or full-time jobs, or even school clubs and circles. What industries are you interested in? Drawing, marketing, fashion, engineering, animals and zoology, finance, automotive. What are you interested in? You can name more than one, of course. What skill sets come easy to you? Do you like to speak? Do you like to negotiate? Are you a planner? Are you organized? Do you love Excel sheets as much as I do? What about focus? Can you sit for hours at a time and get a project done? What about project management? Are you able, whether it's in school or at work, are you able to get like 4 or 5 people together and help them all with their roles and just watch them from an overarching, just see how everything is happening and meeting their deadlines? What about professional life rings true for you? Write it down. And finally, let's go to the 4th section on Career Ikigai. Now, this section you may not complete today. I'm going to be talking now for the next 2 slides and give you a couple of things. You may not know this until you actually Google it or, research online or talk with people, but I want you to believe that you can have a Japanese spin on your unique gift. So if you had no limitations, what would your dream job be? Nothing. If nothing was impossible, what would it be? So again, you won't find an answer right away, probably. Most people don't. But if you do, awesome. The key is to start brainstorming. One idea will lead you to another, to another, to another. But you won't find out what step F is if you don't start with A and then go to B and then C. Next, you may need to carve your own path. You may not find a job ad that's perfect for you, but maybe you're so interested in something that you're willing to create something or talk to a company and have them create a role for you. None of this is impossible, and I can go into details. Definitely check out my blog post on this topic. I have senpai success stories that talk about people who couldn't find what they wanted, so they made it themselves. So here's some real-world examples to get you thinking. So let's say you have a cultural understanding of how something works in Japan that can help bridge some gaps, even if it's not language related. If you, for example, spent some time in Japan and you know the train system in and out, that in itself will be so helpful for anyone traveling to Japan, because you can give them tips on how to buy a ticket, how to put the ticket into the machine, how to make sure you find that ticket once you get out, or to buy a pass that is like a credit card and you touch it, the turnstile with, and you go. Just helping people out with that is something that a newbie going to Japan for the first time would have no idea, or people traveling to Japan on business. You, with your love of trains and everything being on time, could actually help them with that. What about if you're a foodie? You could translate menus. In fact, you can make it sound much more appealing than what the dictionary would say for whatever word you're trying to translate, because we all know that some of the food that we would eat in Japan doesn't sound appealing when you put it into just the literal, words. You have to finesse it, and you have to convince people to try it because it's so amazing and so delicious. Even natto, which we all know and love, and I actually like it, so I'm not joking there. But even natto can be made to sound like a delicacy if you know how to phrase it. What about thinking about being a support when it comes to localization for products in either country? If you're artistic, if you have graphic skills, project management skills, think about selling a product. For example, let's take a product like a sports drink from Japan, which is called Pocari Sweat. We all know what that is if you've been to Japan. It's like a Gatorade, a sports drink that you drink to rehydrate. If you try to sell it in your country, how would you market it? What wording would you use in the advertisements? How would you sell it to people and make them try it? Because it really is quite tasty, right? So that's localization, helping with not just the direct translation of something, but making it mean something in the target language. Now, if you're interested in law, you can do court interpreting, you can do phone interpreting, medical. There's so much you can help with, Japanese people living in your country that need to know how to maneuver your healthcare system. There's a lot you can do in any industry, in any field. So again, you don't have to necessarily complete this box. Just keep thinking. I want you to know that anything is possible. So here's some tips I'd like to share with you. First of all, don't expect the dream job right away. Your career is a work in progress, and sometimes it won't be your dream job. And each career step will take you to the next step, and then you may discover a completely new dream job along the way. So me, for example, I tried interpreting, I tried professional organizing, personal finance, and after digging deep and maybe talking to some people who are in the industry, I realized they were no's. But until I tried those things, I didn't know that I would get to Ikigai Connections at the end. Ikigai Connections didn't happen right away. It's happened after 20 years. So, and I'm not trying to make you feel upset that you have to wait 20 years. That's not the case. I had fun along the way, and I'm dealing with my dream job right now. So be curious, be excited for what could happen, be open-minded, and it might not exist, so you'll have to create it like I did. Next, you have to put the work in. Nothing will come land in your lap or your inbox. You literally have to put yourself out there. It takes time. But don't worry, it's not as scary as it may sound. It's just with everything in life. You have to put the work in order to get results. Next, there is no right answer. If you're aiming for perfect or correct, that will hold you back. Plus, there could be more than one, and that's exciting. Also, I think your Ikigai can change over time, so allow yourself to be human, to grow, to change, to learn. Okay? Next, there are no mistakes. How can you know if you like skiing if you've never tried it? Same question for natto. How do you know if you don't like natto if you don't try it? Yes, it smells bad, but If you try it, it might be really good. And how can you decide if you want to use Japanese language and cultural skills when you've never researched it, talked about it, or tried it? Put yourself out there. And no matter what happens or how many times you fall, you will always be able to get back up. Finally, it's never too late to start dreaming. I don't want you to rush. I don't want you to stress about it. I just want you to have a desire to learn and grow. So, that is it for Career Ikigai. I want you to keep thinking about it, and I want you, this might take time, but always realize that you can do something that you really yearn to do. So now that you have a better idea of what you want to do next in your career path, I think it'll help you get more focused in your job search. Now you can use this sheet of paper. You can research jobs, companies, maybe networking groups, and start to create a plan. So, the last section I'd like to get to is just an introduction to my Japanese Jobs 100 series. If you are an entrepreneur or a solopreneur watching this, you'll know how difficult it is to get your baby out there in the world. This is my baby. I've put so much time into this filled with a lot of love and a lot of good, honest advice. I really think that if you have this information, it will definitely help you in the job search. So let's just go a couple minutes over what this is, and I will also be giving a coupon code if you are interested in trying it out, which will expire at the end of this month, July 31st, 2020. So if you're watching this after the fact, my advice is just sign up for my mailing list so I can do the same kind of promotion for my next Japanese Jobs 200 series. So my Ikigai is to share the 26 plus years of my experiences, so it is a shortcut for your success. And I really believe that you'll save time by learning only what you need to know. Don't have to Google or blindly search. I will give you all the information you need. So, what we did today is the Japanese Jobs 101 on Career Ikigai. And this continues into 4 other modules, which you can get separately, individually, or all together. But the next one for 102 is English and Japanese resumes. I even show you what basic kanji and characters and terminology to use in Japanese. I'll show you in 103 networking, whether it's online or in person. And this is a great way to get opportunities for jobs because, like I mentioned earlier, not all jobs have job ads. In Japanese Jobs 104, I talk about the job search, including if you want to work in Japan. I'll show you how to maneuver these Japanese websites, how to apply, where to even go to look. And the last section is about applying and interviewing. So I do touch upon Shushoku Katsudo, or the Japanese job search, Rireki, which is the Japanese resumes, and Entori Shito, which is a way to apply whether online or on paper. But my tips here will apply to you finding a job using your Japanese skills in any country, not just Japan. Why did I create this? I think it's a one-stop shop. If you want a Japanese job, follow my tips and use your international and intercultural experience to really showcase this global employee movement that I want everyone to know about. Who is this for? My trainings are basically job search prep for entry-level jobs or internships, but the advice is applicable for mid-career, and my job board on my website also applies for mid-career or even higher professionals. It's also for anyone looking to find a Japan-related job in any country, and it's for any school degree, any focus. And I use specific examples that can apply to your situation, but basically my tips are for any Japanese-related job. What are the results you'll get? You'll be prepared for your job application and interview. You will have and project confidence, and you will be open to better salary and promotion opportunities because you are showcasing your bilingual, bicultural qualifications that really not too many of us have. Here's some frequently asked questions. First of all the lessons are in English. I do have some Japanese words when I talk about the resumes, but basically just English is the main language. Your Japanese language level can be from 0 to advanced. And the resume prep is from a US and a Japan perspective. It may apply to your country if you're from a different country like Europe, India, Asia, but I do believe that the tips I give from my American perspective will apply very much to yours as well. And you can use this knowledge to apply for any job in any country, including Japan. So here's what it looks like. Basically, the 5 modules, the first one is this one, and it's for free, just so you can get a better idea of how I teach. Each module is priced at $197, but for this introductory launch, I'm using only $99, and you get thorough lessons, ready-made templates, and step-by-step instructions. And those who know me, who are watching this, know that I'm very detail-oriented, so there will be some good stuff in here, I promise. Also, you can check out most of these online in the website that I'll show you momentarily, and you can see the introduction video as well as the syllabus for each of these courses. If you want to get the bundle, you'll save some money with that, and you're also able to make payments, 3 payments. So for those of you who are watching this live or in July 2020, you can use this coupon code to get 20 additional % off Career Ikigai. So please use that code in any or all of the programs that you'd like. It's my introductory launch, and going forward, I will not have such low prices. So I hope you are able to experiment and try me out. So the website to go to get all this information is below. It's ikigaiconnections.com/Japanese-jobs. So please take a look, and all the details are there, including the introductory videos that are free for each module and the syllabus that you can look at and see exactly what you're getting. So in conclusion, regardless of whether you take this online training program a try or not, here are the 4 things I want you to know. I really want you to be inspired about creating opportunities. So the first one is your language and international experience and passion really makes you stand out. The fact that you want to use your language and cultural skills so much will make you a great candidate. Second, your skills will distinguish you in your career. It really will make you stand out from the others, especially when you're applying for a job. Number 3, global companies need you. They just don't know it yet, maybe as much. So join me with Ikigai Connections, and we're going to make this momentum, this movement get some more momentum, because I really think that you as a global employee are so amazing. And lastly, it's your chance to be creative. Really, really think about your career Ikigai and what you can do. I truly believe that nothing is impossible. So, what do you want to do next? I'd love to hear from you. Let me know. My email is info@ikigaiconnections.com. Sign up for my weekly mailing list. It's on my website. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.